So we're here at Lions, Tigers, and Bears today, and we're showing some of you some of God's most precious creatures. And we're going to talk today a little bit about fighting for these animals and what it takes to fight for these most beautiful animals. And our tigers, of course, being endangered species. So hi. Good morning. I'm Bobbi Brink, and I'm the founder and director of Lions, Tigers, and Bears here in San Diego. We're actually in Alpine, California, which is east of San Diego. And we fight for animals. We rescue animals. We provide a lifetime home. We're an education center. And today we're going to discuss a topic that a lot of you are reaching out to me about. And it's a hard topic because it's life, you know. Every life counts. Every one of these animals' lives count. And so today we're going to talk about fighting for these animals, and I'm going to try to really explain to you how hard it can be to get animals out of terrible situations and why it's so hard. So a lot of times we'll spend years and years trying to get animals out of just deplorable conditions. A lot of people don't know animals are property, and sometimes it seems impossible to stop the animal abuse. And a lot of times people will actually get in trouble for something totally different than the actual animal abuse, which to this day amazes me. So they'll get in trouble for things like child endangerment, drugs. A lot of these people who have these animals have criminal backgrounds. It just amazes me. Even murder for hire, as we've seen, is what they get in trouble for instead of the actual animal abuse. So Tina's here with me today, and she's actually helping me film. So we might be passing the camera back a little bit back and forth, but I just want to try the best that I can to explain to you how hard this can be and what's happening in our country, and it's got to stop. So I want to share this board with you. This is how big cats actually live in America. So most of the captive big cats, you know, they're kept in backyards and roadside zoos, and they are the ones that suffer the consequences of being poorly fed. People aren't educated in how to take care of these animals. You know, every single one of these animals deserve daily care every day. And you have to have eyes on these animals every single day. And so, as you can see by some of these pictures, this one right here was our first tigers that came to Lions, Tigers, and Bears. This is Raja and Natasha. They lived in a 12-by-6 enclosure for over 5 years. No shade, no shelter. You know, you can see one standing up for, you know, the other to lay down, fight over food. This is no way for our endangered species to be living. And a lot of them will live in just really crowded, dilapidated, just disgusting small cages. A lot of times they don't even get to go out in the sunshine, fresh air. I have taken in bears. Our sugar bear here never had his foot on the dirt or grass. Bears need dirt and grass. This red truck here, this is a picture of a tiger that was for sale in the back of a pickup truck at a Walmart park. Exotic animals on display, 95-degree heat, you know, out in the middle of a store parking lot so that the public can see the tigers. And a lot of you might have seen this one on the news. This was a tiger that was kept in. I'm sure you can imagine what the police officer here is thinking when he's hanging here, trying to figure out how he, who's probably not trained around exotic animals, is going to get this tiger and the alligator that's in their apartment. So it can be times to understand the role here when it comes to private ownership with the exotic animals like big cats and bears. And you know, like we've been seeing in the news lately, you'll see things like this. You know, this is a cat with just being eaten up by flies. There's no excuse for this. There's ways to stop this. And this is where, when I'm talking about your hands-on daily animal care, this wouldn't happen. You wouldn't leave an animal in this situation. If you can get online on our Facebook or on our pictures, you can see how many flies are on the ears. And you know, this is a corn crib right here in Ohio. This is actually where the sugar bear, who lives here at our place, came from. He lived in this corn crib for at least 6 years. And you know, he'd never been out in this bright sunlight, and when he came here, we put him in a 3-acre habitat. He was scared to death of space. It took him about a month to actually step out of his safety bedroom, touch the grass, play in the playground, as we called it, because he was sitting there playing in the sand like a little kid in the sandbox. But now he walks every inch of his 3-acre habitat. And again, here, this is just a little bit of what flies and a lack of care can happen for the animals. So of course, we're always asking you to help us to fight for the animals, because we're nothing more than commercial sale They're just continuously bred and disposed of, and so we have quite a few things that we want to talk about. These exhibiting, and it's where you can handle, and we also call it pay to play. So it's where you can handle an animal and pay. And you know, if I can teach you anything today, I can beg you, please, please, please don't do cub petting. So we have a little how, you know, what the true cost of cub petting is. These animals are speed bred. A tiger will breed, their gestations, they'll breed a cat continuously to do nothing more than pull the babies from the mama, so people can pay to have pictures taken. In order to keep their business going, they've of course got to continuously breed animals. So for about 4 weeks, and then they're disposable, or they start accumulating a lot of animals, which makes it really hard because these animals are super hard to take care of and they require a lot of care. And so then they'll start getting more, they'll start going out the back, and you know, it has to stop. So if I can't get you to do anything to help us to fight for the animals, please don't pay to. This type of business is the model that perpetuates the poor treatment of animals, both adults and babies. It will make you sick if you really take the time to think about it. People live 30 years, and they just these places start to get so many animals that they just can't take care of them, or they don't care, and they do it for nothing more than to make the money. So I want to talk a little bit about government to get these animals out of the bad places. So right now in the United States, there's no federal laws restricting the private ownership. 4 states, there's absolutely no laws. So you can own a tiger, a lion, or a big cat. Of course, we're working very hard with what we call the Big Cat and Public Safety Act to try to get some federal laws passed to protect the animals, especially for tracking. We have no idea how many of these animals are in our country. So just a quick history lesson here. The Animal Welfare Act, it was passed in Congress and sets general standards for humane care and treatment that must be, it must be, sorry, we had a little technical difficulty. The Animal Welfare Act, it sets the general standards for humane care and treatment of the animals. So it tells you how you have to care for the animals. Certain animals that are bred for commercial sale, if they're sight unseen internet sales, if they're exhibited to the research, maybe transported commercially. Congress assigned the U.S. Department of Agriculture, which is the USDA, the responsibility of enforcing the AWA, or the Animal Welfare Act. And then the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, which we call APHIS, they're the agency within the USDA that's responsible for ensuring this occurs. So essentially, APHIS is the governing body that is responsible for ensuring the Animal Welfare Act is upheld. The USDA has several different types of permits depending upon how the exotic animals are being used. The exhibitor's permit is prevalent amongst many roadside zoos and attractions which are open to the public. So I know that can be kind of confusing, but the USDA is who regulates the exotic animals federally in the United States. They are responsible for enforcing the Animal Welfare Act. But when things start to go wrong, it's not as easy as it sounds to get the USDA to do something. So the USDA is not in the business of shutting down businesses. They would rather that these businesses go on. And in my eyes, and what I've seen personally with my own eyes, before something will get done, an animal literally needs to be lying there dying or have broken legs, and this is where we need reform. So when things go wrong, you know, the only thing we can do is try to educate people and beg you not to frequent these roadside zoos, not to support the cub petting. Help us pass the Big Cat Public Safety Act, which you can do easily by just contacting your constituents and asking them to help. So it looks like we're getting a lot of questions, so I want to try to answer some of them. And some of the questions are, why can the animals be kept in such poor conditions on the property? So this happens a lot, especially in the states where there's no laws. And pretty much if they can stand up, turn around fresh food and water, these people will get left alone. So, you know, this is something that we're trying to change. Of course, like I said, animals are considered property, and sometimes it feels like it's nearly impossible to get animals out of these, just these disgusting conditions. So one of the question, what happens to the animals after they grow too big to do the pictures? So like I was saying, these cub petting businesses, they have to continuously breed animals to keep their business going. So I'm sure if you can imagine, if they have, you know, 10 or 12 breeding cats at a time, and they're popping out 2 to 4 babies at a time, there's plenty of babies. And then, like I said, there's no federal tracking. A lot of these animals, they go to another roadside zoo, they're bounced around. A lot of our rescues have been bounced around many, many roadside zoos before they get here. Albert and Cherry Bomb and Teddy and Baloo, our bears, those are perfect examples of that. Okay, let's see, another question. How can facilities be allowed to be in business like this? So in certain states like Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Indiana, Nevada, these businesses are perfectly legal. And they fool the public, because here's another question. Why if tigers are endangered, don't we want to breed more? So at these roadside facilities, they are inbreeding. They breed anything to anything that will breed. They breed a lot of hybrids, which means there's a lot of animal pain. I mean, even just recently, a liger has died and they don't even know why. And if it was at a facility like mine, it would, you know, we'd be figuring out why. You know, that's another thing that seems to happen. They don't get the proper vet care that they deserve. Somebody's asking, how do they not get in trouble by the USDA? So it used to be that the USDA would go out and do inspections, and these people would get written up multiple times for multiple violations. And then they would start to accumulate. I mean, I've seen 50 to 100 violations, and then the USDA is still renewing the permits. So I think it was just about last year now, if you have violations, finally your USDA permit cannot be renewed. But the USDA now has what's called Teachable Moments. So instead of writing up violations, they write up what's called a teachable moment. A teachable moment is great if you're willing to learn and you're willing to change. But if these animals are nothing more to you than property or a way to make a living, these people don't care and they're not going to change. Okay, let's see what other questions do we have. Any questions on it, Tina? Have you ever felt unsafe? Oh, yes. So the most dangerous work that we do here at Lions, Tigers, and Bears is we go into some of these places which are just, as you can see by the pictures, pretty unsafe. And a lot of times, sometimes there's not proper gates, there's not a way to get a roll cage in. The cage was never built to get an animal out. The first responders are not trained in the animals, so they're afraid. And a lot of times we literally have to build something to get them out. A lot of these people that we're dealing with, they have criminal backgrounds. They've been in trouble for things like child endangerment or drugs or multiple different things. They're, of course, wildlife traffickers, a lot of them, so they don't want to be in trouble. A lot of paperwork is fraudulent and things like that. They're in trouble for transporting animals across the state lines, things like that. So yes, you can feel very unsafe, but you know what? We need to step up and fight for our animals. Somebody's got to do it. And then this can stop. Let's see if we have any more questions. People are asking if we are about the case in Oklahoma, and you know, we're just hoping right now that he does the right thing for the animals, because as you can see, the animals can be suffering, and we have been talking with the sheriff there. The sheriff is working hard to do what's right for the public in Oklahoma. You know, as you see by the photos, when a cat escapes, you know, these animals are apex predator. If something goes wrong, it is not the cat's fault. So having these facilities, it's our responsibility to house them as safe as possible. We can't have the public jumping barriers and trying to pet the cats through the cages. It's dangerous. Somebody could lose a finger in a hot second, or a hand, or an arm. Once the bear gets a hold of something, it's really hard to get it back out of the cage. If you're on the outside of the cage, super, super dangerous. So that's where we are on that. So we're just, we're always asking for your help. So, I hope you learned something today. If the USDA thing was a little bit confusing to you, or if you're willing to help, email us and get in contact. And I hope you're going to stick with us. Keep supporting lions, tigers, and bears. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. There's so many things you can do. Even just sharing on your social media helps us to help the animals. And please visit accredited sanctuaries. Don't visit roadside zoos. And help us to help the animals. And I hope you're having a great day. Thanks a lot, Bobbi.